Last November, I was eating instant ramen in the back seat of my beat-up Buick trying to finish a physics assignment on a cracked tablet while my breath fogged up the window. It was around midnight. Freezing. My hoodie wasn't cutting it, and the heating only worked if I smacked the dashboard twice and prayed to the car gods. But that night was better than the previous one. At least nobody threw beer bottles at me this time. I never planned to end up homeless. Who the hell does... Let me backtrack. A year ago, my dad died of liver cancer. Quick, brutal, just 6 months from diagnosis to burial. The last thing he ever told me was, "Don't let life break your engine, Jess." He was a mechanic, real grease under the nails type. We didn't have much, but he loved hard and showed up every single time. 2 months after we buried him, my mom, who, for the record, never worked a full-time job in her life, married this sleazy roofing contractor named Dean. Dude wore too much cologne and called everyone kiddo, including my mom. Gross. He started hanging around real fast, taking her to dinner at chain steak joints, bringing investor energy to our beat-up living room like he was some walking episode of Shark Tank. And she just ate it up, said she needed to feel alive again. Whatever that means. I tried to deal. I really did. But then, one night she told me to start packing. Dean apparently didn't have enough space for me in his 2-bedroom apartment. She said it was time for me to stand on my own. I was 16. Guess who she sent me to? Her sister Tina, my aunt who hadn't visited us once since Dad passed. Not even a card. Tina lived in Detroit. Big old brick house with columns out front like she was the damn mayor. She had 2 kids, Tyler and Bree, both spoiled private school TikTok vibe nightmares. I used to get along with them as a kid during the holidays. I genuinely thought we were tight. I was dead wrong. First day I moved in, Bree looked me up and down and said, "Oh, you didn't bring like real clothes." Tyler laughed. Tina didn't even try to hide her tone when she said, "We'll find somewhere to put her. Maybe the basement." Yeah, the basement. It smelled like mildew and wet cardboard. The room had no door, one tiny window, and some random water heater that made noises at 3 a.m. like it was possessed. She called it cozy. Then came the kicker. Aunt Tina charged me rent. I was 17, still in high school. She handed me a piece of paper with monthly contribution written on it in bold Sharpie like she was running a damn Airbnb. $400, plus utilities. I laughed, thinking she was kidding. She wasn't. My mom too busy posting photos on Instagram with Dean in front of some cruise ship. The caption said, "Healing # new beginnings." Healing. She barely looked at me when Dad was on oxygen. I started working the next day. There was this 24-hour body shop a few blocks from Tina's. I'd walked by it a dozen times before someone finally gave me a number. The owner, Ray, looked like he walked out of a Clint Eastwood movie. Tough, silent, but didn't ask questions. I told him I'd do anything: mop floors, clean oil spills, take out the trash. He gave me midnight to 6 a.m. No benefits, paid cash, no questions. I also picked up a second job at a local auto parts store from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. You know, just to cover the utilities Aunt Tina kept magically increasing every month. Oh, the heating's gone up. You know how winters are. Like I was the one running space heaters for fun. My cousins, they made life hell. Tyler and his crew would swing by the shop sometimes and film me on their phones, posting funny videos like Detroit's saddest mechanic, or catch Jess in her oil-stained era. Got real viral in their spoiled friend circle. Bree. She'd come into the parts store with her cheer squad and be like, "Jess, can you help me find blinker fluid?" and laugh like it was the first time anyone made that joke. One time, I came home to find my mattress soaked. Someone poured water on it. Tina blamed a leak. Yeah, sure. That leak also just so happened to destroy the teddy bear my dad gave me when I was 6, the one I'd been hiding my cash stash in. Money gone. 2 months ago, I hit a wall. I was falling asleep in class, failing 2 subjects. My hands shook from too much caffeine and not enough sleep. One of my teachers pulled me aside and asked if I was safe at home. I lied and said I was fine. Then one night after the auto shop closed, I realized I couldn't go back. I sat in my car with what little I owned stuffed into trash bags and thought, this is it. This is my life now. Sleeping behind a Jiffy Lube. Cool. I actually laughed, then cried, then passed out from exhaustion. A few nights later, I noticed this black pickup truck parked across the street. Engine running, tinted windows. I assumed it was a cop or some weirdo scoping out the area. But the next night, it was there again. And the next. Same time, same place. It started to freak me out. I thought maybe Dean or Tyler had sent someone to mess with me. But then came the night I'll never forget. It was minus 10 degrees. My car battery died. I had no way to charge my phone. The body shop was locked. My breath looked like smoke and my fingers were blue. That's when someone knocked on my car window. I nearly screamed. Then I saw him, Ray, my boss, standing in the snow wearing the same scuffed boots and faded beanie he always had on. He looked at me and said, "You done trying to freeze yourself to death, kid." And that, my friends, was the start of everything changing. He didn't wait for me to answer. Just opened the passenger door like he'd done it a million times before and said, "Let's go." I was shivering so hard my knees knocked. My pride told me to say no, to just tough it out. But my body was like, "Nah, girl, we're done here." So I followed. Ray led me upstairs to this office space I didn't even know existed. It was small, dusty, and warm as hell. He had a little electric heater blowing full blast next to a beat-up recliner and a coffee maker that looked like it had survived 2 wars. I didn't say much at first. Just stood there trying to warm up my fingers while he poured coffee into a chipped mug that said, "Don't talk to me till I torque you." "I've seen you sleeping out there," he said like it was just another Tuesday. My face went hot. I mean just a couple times. Not, he cut me off. "Kid, don't insult my eyesight. I've got security cameras and a working brain. You think I hired you because you're great at mopping floors?" I froze. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Your dad and I used to sleep in a van behind our first garage. Middle of winter. Used oil barrels to stay warm. Your old man was a better mechanic than I'll ever be. Smart, stubborn, decent to the bone." I hadn't heard anyone talk about him like that in a long time. Not since before Dean showed up and erased him like he was some temporary roommate instead of my actual father. Ray handed me the coffee. "You've got that same grit, that same don't quit until you collapse energy." I didn't want help, I mumbled, hating how small my voice sounded. "You didn't ask," he said. "There's a difference." That night I slept in the recliner with 2 layers of shop blankets over me and a space heater buzzing like a lullaby. First decent sleep in months. No TikToks mocking me, no mildew smell, no banging pipes from the demon water heater downstairs. Just silence. Next morning, there was a folded piece of paper on the little table next to me. It had a key taped to it and a note in all caps. "Upstairs apartment is yours if you want it. No rent. Rules, stay in school. Keep working. Don't quit on yourself. R." I stared at that key for like 10 minutes. Then I cried. Like ugly face, snot bubble shoulders shaking cried. Because for the first time since Dad died, I felt safe. I felt seen. Not pitied. Not someone's charity case. Just seen. I moved into the apartment that day. It was tiny studio-style, old furniture, stained carpet, a leaky faucet, but to me, it was a palace. Of course, this being my life, that peace didn't last long. Because the next day, Tyler saw me coming down from the apartment during his walk to school. By the time I clocked in for my shift, my phone was blowing up with texts from Bree. "Are you seriously living with our uncle now? Deadass thought you were homeless. LOL. Guess you're just a gold digger. Did you seduce him or something like you?" I didn't respond. Didn't have the energy. 3 hours later, Aunt Tina pulled up to the shop in her Lexus, stepped out in full athleisure like she'd just finished yoga but was actually halfway through being unhinged. She stormed into the lobby like she owned the building, completely ignoring Ray at the front counter. "Where is she?" she snapped. Ray just sipped his coffee. "Who?" "Jessica, my niece, that little manipulative brat." I was in the back checking inventory when I heard her voice and my whole body just locked. She came back there, right up to me. And I swear to God, she pointed at my chest like I was some stranger who'd stolen her wallet. "You think you're clever moving in upstairs? What did you promise him, huh?" I blinked. "Are you actually accusing me of sleeping with my uncle?" Ray stepped in before I could even process it. "Tina, leave now or I call the cops. I mean it." She turned on him like a viper. "She's been trying to steal from you. She's been spying for her mother. You think this is coincidence?" "Funny," Ray said calmly, considering I'm the one who gave her the key. She lost it. Started screaming about how I'd always been trouble, how I manipulated people with my sad little orphan act, how I was just like my gold-digging mother, and how she knew I was going to ruin everything. She said this in front of customers, in front of employees, in front of Ray. Ray didn't raise his voice once. He just pointed toward the door and said, "Tina, you're not welcome here anymore." She left with a dramatic hair flip like this was some soap opera. Later that night, I heard them yelling upstairs. Tina and Ray. It was muffled, but I caught words like embezzlement loyalty, not your money, and how long did you think you could hide it? Apparently that wasn't the first fight. And it sure as hell wasn't the last. Things got quiet for about a week. Until I came home to find Bree sitting outside my apartment crying mascara streaked like she'd been through hell. "I need to tell you something," she said. I didn't even invite her in. Just stood there on the stairs while she sniffled. "It's my mom," she said. "She's been stealing from Uncle Ray for years, and—" She paused. "Dean's in on it too. Your mom's husband." I felt my stomach drop. Apparently, Tyler had been using Tina's iPad for homework and got curious when he saw messages popping up. They were from Dean, saved under a fake name. Messages about transfer amounts, offshore accounts, plans to sell off Ray's property in pieces and vanish with clean money. They had a whole folder of documents. Fake invoices, false vendor names, maintenance records for buildings that didn't exist. Every time Tina raised my rent, it was going straight into the getaway fund. They were planning to run soon. And if Tyler hadn't snooped, we would have never known. I wanted to throw something, scream, drive to Tina's and rip every Chanel bag out of her closet and set it on fire. But Ray didn't blink. He went full quiet mode, like too quiet. Called his lawyer. Called his accountant. Then he looked me dead in the eye and said, "We're gonna do this my way. You in?" I nodded. Damn right I was in. What they didn't know was I'd been documenting everything. Every rent receipt. Every text from my mom pretending to care. Every suspicious transfer I'd accidentally seen while filing parts orders. We had a case. We had evidence. And Ray, he had a plan. 2 weeks later, Tina threw a massive birthday bash for Tyler's 18th. Backyard DJ catered barbecue, those stupid outdoor heaters rich people use even when it's like 60 degrees. She invited half the school and all her fake friend circle. The ones who drink oat milk lattes and gossip about people with real jobs. Ray told me this is it. She thinks she's about to run. We end it today. His lawyer had put together everything: emails, bank transfers, hidden account trails, even phone call transcripts between her and Dean. Turns out Uncle Ray had a guy who used to work for the IRS. Of course he did. I swear old dudes with mechanic shops always know someone who knows someone. That morning, Bree helped me set up folding chairs in the yard. She was a wreck. Said her mom had been acting too nice, like that fake kind of sweet that makes your skin crawl. Even gave her a new phone. Probably so I wouldn't see her texts on the old one, Bree muttered. Tyler was pretending everything was normal, but the kid looked like he hadn't slept in days. He had the same smile as before, but it wasn't reaching his eyes. That's how I knew we were all running on fumes. At 3:45 p.m., Ray's lawyer walked in like he owned the place. Gray suit, steel eyes folder under his arm like it was a sword. Tina was laughing with some neighbor lady by the mimosa bar. Dean had his arm around my mom, who looked confused and fake happy. The sight of him touching her made my stomach churn. Ray clapped his hands once. Loud, sharp. "Family meeting," he said. People started murmuring, glancing around like they were on a reality show, and the drama was finally dropping. Tina froze mid-laugh, saw the lawyer, and you could practically hear the brakes screeching in her brain. We all went inside. The living room cleared. Ray closed the curtains. Lawyer opened the folder. I stood in the back, silent, heart pounding like I'd just run laps. "This won't take long," Ray said. "I just want to show you all what your mother and Dean have been up to." First page: wire transfers. Large amounts. 2 companies with names like Midtown Maintenance Group and Optimal Facility Services. Tyler squinted. "Wait, we don't even own buildings in those areas." "Exactly." Second page: screenshots of messages between Tina and Dean. Stuff like, "We're almost at the final amount, and once Ray signs off, we ghost." My mom gasped. Legit gasped like she was in a soap opera. What? What is this? Dean looked like someone had kicked him in the throat. Tina tried to grab the folder, yelling something about doctored evidence and "this is slander." Ray didn't flinch, just nodded toward the front door. Cue the feds. I kid you not, actual FBI agents walked in. 2 of them, calm as hell. One had sunglasses still on inside. Tina shrieked. Dean tried to run, didn't make it past the porch. They cuffed them both, right in front of the mimosa bar. Bree frozen, eyes wide. Tyler just sank into the couch and put his face in his hands. My mom lost it. Started yelling at Dean, calling him a liar, a thief, a con. She tried to grab his arm, but one of the agents stepped between them. You used me, she screamed. You stole everything. He didn't even look back. Guess what else? Ray's accountant had traced some of the stolen funds directly into my mom's bank account. Turns out Dean used her name to open 2 shell companies. She'd signed forms blindly, probably thinking they were vacation paperwork or tax write-offs. She was part of it, unintentionally maybe, but still. Ray looked at her like she was a stranger. You helped bury my brother, then helped the man who replaced him rob me. She started crying, said she didn't know, that she was just trying to survive. I raised Jesse in a basement while you played yacht wife, Ray said, voice low and cold. Don't talk to me about survival. That hit harder than anything else. The guests, oh, they were watching all of this like it was free HBO. Phones out, recording, whispering. Tina screamed something about how we ruined her life as they dragged her down the driveway. I wanted to yell back that she ruined her own life, but honestly, it wasn't worth it. The aftermath. Nuclear. Ray cut off access to every account. Had the lawyer freeze all properties under Tina's name. Filed a civil suit against Dean. The feds seized assets. Mom's accounts were frozen too. She ended up staying at a hotel for a few nights before checking herself into some rehab program. Not for drugs or anything, just reality withdrawal, I guess. Bree and Tyler moved into my studio. It was cramped as hell. We shared one futon, rotated shower schedules, argued over shelf space. But weirdly, it felt more like family than anything else I'd experienced since Dad died. Tyler got a part-time gig at the shop. Turns out he's a genius with diagnostics. Quiet kid, but once you hand him a multimeter, he lights up. Bree started helping with front desk stuff. She actually has a decent people-reading instinct when she's not trying to impress Instagram. Realized she doesn't hate working, just hated feeling useless. Me, I kept grinding. Stayed on the night shift, learned more about engine rebuilding, started taking weekend classes at the local tech college. Ray paid my tuition up front. No loans, he said. You've already paid more than enough. He also gave me full access to the books. Taught me everything: payroll, vendor relations, contract negotiation. I swear the man was preparing me to take over before I even realized it. He'd leave sticky notes on paperwork like, your dad would have done it this way. Or try thinking like a business owner, not just a tech. I started thinking about the future. Like real future. Buying a better car. Maybe my own place. Opening a second branch with my name on it. That thought alone felt wild. But here's the wildest part. None of this would have happened if they hadn't tried to destroy me. Tina raising my rent pushed me to get a second job. Dean manipulating my mom forced me to get smarter about people. Living in my car gave me grit, patience, a weirdly strong back. They thought they broke me, but they just sharpened me. Now I'm not just surviving, I'm building, with people who choose to show up. Sometimes when the shop gets quiet around 2 a.m. and the lights are low, I think about that first night in the recliner. The space heater buzzing. The cheap coffee. The way Ray looked at me and said, you didn't ask for help, that's why I'm giving it. That sentence changed everything. I don't need revenge anymore, I have power. And that hits way harder. 2 weeks after everything exploded, I got a knock at the shop door at 7 a.m. I was elbow deep in a busted radiator and covered in grease. I figured it was a customer who couldn't read our opening hours. It wasn't. It was my mom. Hair in a messy bun. Designer coat over pajamas. Looked like she hadn't slept or maybe had cried herself into exhaustion. Her eyes were red, lips trembling like she wanted to say 10 different things but couldn't land on any of them. I just blinked. Jesse, she said, we need to talk. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. Another part just wanted to keep working, pretend I hadn't heard her. Instead, I stepped outside and leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You have 5 minutes. She fumbled for words. I didn't know what Dean was doing. I swear to God, Jess, I thought he was just managing investments. I didn't even read most of the papers. I trusted him. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Of course you did. That's kind of your thing. Her eyes welled up. I wasn't trying to abandon you. I was grieving. No, I cut her off. You were upgrading. You found a guy with money and a boat and decided I didn't fit your aesthetic anymore. You shipped me off to a woman who hated my dad and ignored every message I sent. You left me in a basement with mold and a space heater while you were out sipping sangria on some resort in St. Lucia. Her face crumpled. I made mistakes. Mistakes, I said louder now. You handed all of Dad's life insurance to a man you knew for 6 months. You signed fake LLC paperwork. You called me dramatic when I said I couldn't live there. You picked a con artist over your own daughter. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't yell, didn't curse, just said, well, now you do. She stepped forward. Please, I don't have anywhere to go. They froze all my accounts. My friends won't return my calls. I need help, Jess. There it was. The ask. The moment she stopped pretending it was about concern and made it what it really was, survival. And me. I stared at her, the woman who gave birth to me, who wore perfume that cost more than my weekly groceries, who once told me, you're too intense just like your father. Come back in 2 hours, I said. You can talk to Uncle Ray. I walked back inside without looking back. Ray didn't say much when I told him, just nodded. Let her come by. So she did. And I sat in the corner of the office while Ray read her the conditions of the help she was so desperately begging for. 1-bedroom apartment over another shop we owned. Minimum 6-month lease. Strict curfew. Mandatory job placement at a local nonprofit Ray funded. No access to the business. No say in anything financial. And, most importantly, no contact with Dean, ever. Mom cried again. Signed the paper with shaking hands. I didn't feel joy watching it. No satisfaction, just quiet exhaustion. Later that night, Bree came home with takeout and said Tyler wants to move in full-time with Ray. Good, I said. He deserves peace. She hesitated. Do you think I'll ever feel normal again? I shrugged. Maybe not, but you'll feel stronger. That's better. She nodded, then passed me the egg rolls. We ate in silence for a bit, watching some stupid car rebuild show we both loved. I think that's when we actually started being friends. Not just trauma roommates. Days turned into weeks. Mom started showing up to work at the nonprofit quietly on time with no complaints. She didn't try to call me, didn't drop in unannounced, just did her thing. I respected that. And honestly, part of me started seeing glimmers of the woman she used to be before Dean, before the money, before the Instagram facade. One morning I was working on a truck when Ray handed me a manila envelope. Said, read this when you're ready. Inside were deed transfer papers. He was signing over partial ownership of the original shop to me, Tyler, and Bree, equal thirds. There was a note too. Your dad helped me build this. Now it's yours to keep building. No one gave us anything. We earned it. So will you. Proud of you, kid. I didn't cry, not right away. But that night I sat in my tiny apartment holding the papers like they were made of gold. And I just let it out. All the pain, the anger, the loneliness. Everything that had been sitting on my chest since I was 15. I cried for the girl who slept in her car. I cried for the girl who hid money in a teddy bear that got destroyed. I cried for the girl who just wanted her mom to love her more than her status. And when I was done, I felt lighter. Not fixed, but freer. 2 days later, Ray called a meeting. Just me, Bree, and Tyler. He brought out a whiteboard, started explaining business projections, repair cost trends, ideas for franchising. I looked at my cousins, both in shop t-shirts, hair messy grease on their hands, and realized something wild. We weren't kids anymore. We were partners. That weekend, Bree and I visited Dad's grave. She brought flowers. I brought a socket wrench. Don't ask, it made sense to me. We stood there for a while, not saying anything. Then she turned to me and said, I hated you when you moved in. I know. I thought you were weak. Turns out you were just trying not to break. I smiled. Same. Before we left, I whispered, hope you're proud of me, Dad. I didn't quit. A few days later, I found an old video on Tyler's phone. One of the TikToks they'd made of me during my gas station shift. Back when they thought it was funny to mock me. He hadn't deleted it, just kept it buried. I watched it for a minute. Saw myself mopping up a slurpy mess, eyes, half dead hair, tied up shoulders hunched like the world had sat on me. Then I looked in the mirror. Same girl, but not really. Not anymore. I handed him the phone. Delete it. He did, no questions. Mom eventually finished her program. She started helping at local shelters, volunteering at food drives, stopped wearing the designer crap, started asking real questions. We had coffee a few times, nothing deep, just surface peace. And that was okay. Some people you don't forgive all the way. You just learn to live with the scar. Bree started a TikTok account where she documents women learning trade jobs. It blew up. She's got a deal with some tool brand now. Tyler's applying to engineering school next fall. Says he wants to design better diagnostic tech for low-income mechanics. So kids like us don't get laughed at for using duct tape, he told me. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my coffee. Me. I'm still here. Still working night shifts sometimes, still learning, still fixing. But I don't sleep in my car anymore. And when I walk into that shop, I don't feel like a charity case. I feel like a damn owner. We get customers now who come in just because they heard the story. You're the girl from the viral thing, right? One of them asked last week. I just shrugged and said, nah, I'm just Jesse. And your oil filter's shot, by the way. They laughed. I didn't tell them that I used to sleep behind the building they just parked in front of. Some things you leave in the rear view, where they belong. 3 months later, I was in the middle of rotating tires when my phone buzzed like crazy in my back pocket. Group chat notifications, text messages, even a few missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored them. Customers first. But then, Bree popped her head in through the bay door holding her phone like it was on fire. Jess, you need to see this, like now. I wiped my hands on a rag, walked over, and looked at her screen. It was a TikTok. Not from her account, from someone else's. Caption said, remember the girl who lived in her car, guess, who just made Forbes Locals under 25 to watch list? The video was some random compilation of me clips from news segments, interviews Ray had done, even a grainy photo of me napping in the back of my car behind the shop from months ago. I blinked. What the actual? It's going viral, she said. Like millions of views. People are commenting non-stop. They love you. I didn't know what to say. My brain just froze. My hands were still stained with tire grease and brake dust. I looked like hell. And here I was, blowing up on the internet for being the girl who used to mop floors while barely staying alive. Later that day, a local reporter came by. Said she wanted to do a full feature on Detroit's most relentless mechanic. I almost laughed in her face. Relentless. Lady, I'm just trying to pay rent and survive my next HVAC bill. But she was kind. Smart questions, real interest, and after it aired, everything went nuts. More customers, more interviews. Even a community grant offer from the city to expand our training program for teen girls interested in trades. They offered to fund half of a second garage if we launched a summer class. Ray was all in, said he'd match the grant personally. You're building something now, he told me. Might as well teach while you're at it. So we did. Bree made flyers and ran social media. Tyler built a cheap booking site and handled intake. I ran the actual lessons, oil changes, tire rotations, basic engine anatomy. And the first time a 15-year-old girl in mismatched sneakers looked at me and said, wait, you're the Jesse, I didn't know whether to laugh or run. But I stayed, because they stayed. Turns out, it's easier to show someone how to lift an engine cap when they know you've been the one holding it alone in the cold at 3 a.m. And the girls, they listened, took notes, asked smart questions. They reminded me of me. The version that never got the chance to be brave until she had no other choice. Then one Friday evening while locking up, I saw something wild. Dean, sitting in a beat-up truck across the street. Same man who tried to rob my family, ruin my name, and treat my mom like some pawn in his getaway plan, just sitting there like nothing ever happened. Eating fast food. Window rolled down like he was waiting on someone. I didn't panic, didn't flinch. Just walked out slow and steady like I owned the block. Because in a way I kinda did now. When he saw me, he smiled. I swear to God. This smug, lazy, creepy-ass smile like he still had cards to play. Jesse, he called out like we were old friends. I didn't answer, just kept walking toward his truck. You look good, he said, all cleaned up, on the news and everything. What do you want? I asked flatly. Just passing through, he said. Thought I'd say hi, see how my favorite stepdaughter's doing. I scoffed. You're lucky I don't keep a wrench in my boot. He laughed. You've got your father's fire. Too bad he didn't know how to turn it into something useful. That was it. I leaned on his truck window and said, "Funny. You tried to rob the wrong people and ended up broke. I got robbed and ended up with a business. Guess the difference is, I'm not the one still eating drive-through burgers in a truck I don't own." His face shifted, barely, but I saw it. The crack in his fake calm. "You don't scare me," he said. "Good," I replied. "I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to make sure you understand that you lost. Not just money, not just the fake companies, everything. You lost me. You lost Mom. You lost whatever image you were building. And the worst part, you're irrelevant now." He went quiet. For the first time in his life, I think. I turned around, walked away without looking back. By the time I locked the door, his truck was gone. That night I told Ray. He shrugged. He won't do anything. He knows we'll bury him in paperwork again. Then he added, "But next time tell me sooner. You don't have to handle this alone anymore." And damn, that sentence, it hit harder than I expected. A few weeks later, I was helping one of the new trainees with a brake line problem when my mom showed up at the garage. She stood by the gate hesitant, like she wasn't sure she was welcome anymore. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. I handed off the wrench and stepped outside. She held something in her hand, a small photo, folded, worn. It was me and Dad. I was like 5, sitting on his shoulders covered in car grease, smiling like life was perfect. "I found this in one of my old journals," she said softly. "I almost threw it out, but I figured maybe you'd want it." I took it, didn't say anything. She sighed. "I've been trying to be better. Volunteering, counseling, reading actual books again." "Good," I said. "Keep doing it." She looked down. "I still think about everything I missed, everything I let happen." "You didn't just let it happen," I said. "You turned away while it was happening." "I know." We stood there for a while. Then she added, "You remind me of him." "Good," I said. "That's the highest compliment you've ever given me." I didn't hug her, but I didn't walk away either. Sometimes growth looks like standing still and letting silence say what words can't. The summer program took off. We filled every slot, had a wait list. Local businesses donated tools. The community showed up. One of the girls wrote me a note on the last day. "I didn't think people like me could belong in places like this. Thank you for showing me we can." I taped it to my wall, right next to the photo of me and Dad. Tyler applied for scholarships. Bree got offered a sponsorship to keep building her trades content. Ray officially added all 3 of our names to the deed. And I got invited to speak at a panel about women in trades. Me. The girl who used to sleep in her car and pretend laundry detergent smell was just fabric softener. I wore jeans and boots and a hoodie with a shop logo. No makeup, no pretenses. When they asked me what advice I'd give young women, I said, "Don't wait for someone to open the door. Kick it off the damn hinges. And if they tried to rebuild the frame without you, take the whole house." The crowd laughed, but a few people nodded with tears in their eyes. That's who I spoke for. Not the polished ones, the scrappy ones, the tired ones. The girls still sleeping behind auto shops in rusty Buicks. Because if someone hadn't seen me, hadn't handed me a key and said, "Don't quit on yourself," I wouldn't be here. I don't owe anyone my success. But I remember who handed me the match when I had no fire left. And I'll keep passing it on. Because revenge fades. But legacy, that sticks.